So one thing that's been very helpful to deal with the debilitating suffering of the human experience is learning to be in the present moment. And in fact, I found that that's probably the most important skill that anyone can have, or any conscious being can have ever, more so than like Photoshop or whatever. Like being present, like actually being in the present moment is so difficult that once you do, you're like, what the fuck was I doing, have been doing my entire life? This video, I'm just basically gonna try and sell you on the idea of why being present is so important, and then kind of how I've been able to tune into more into the present moment, and it's making my life honestly a lot fucking better, like to the point where I'm like, this is what enlightenment probably feels like this is the closest thing where you're not worrying about the past or the future, you're just fucking good, you're just good, you're like, you know what, I don't need to like do these things to like get myself off and feel something. It's like I can just be good, like I can be good at any time. There's nothing, anything that makes you feel like you can't just be good or makes you feel inadequate is really not, you don't need to take that on. You can literally just feel good and graceful for everything that you have around you. Like, assuming you're not in some like dire situation, then by all means get yourself out of it. But like, if you're watching this video in your room in some like, I don't know, first world country that has a lot of white people, like you're probably good. Like you probably can be good. Like just now, even if there are some worries you need to deal with, like you can still just be okay. So anyways, that's the thing. The fact of the matter is, there is no past and there is no future. There is only the present moment, right? Like you literally only have this moment, like right now and now and now. Like the past is a concept, the future is a concept. You only have this moment, and it's like every single moment is like a frame from a film, like a movie film, glorious movie film that make benefit for glorious nation of all the nations. Your life is the film, right? The frames are each moment, each second, right now and right now, that makes up the movie of your life. And if you want a really good movie, then you need to make sure each frame is really good, right? That's like if you have the most beautiful or just the most perfect maximized frame you can have, and then a movie is made up of all these really good frames, then you have a really good movie. And the only way to maximize each frame, like just get the most juice out of each frame, is to be as present as possible. And the more presence you have in each moment, in each frame, then it just makes that frame like fucking, like imbued with like angel divine fucking energy, just with the grace of the divine, like God's grace, the grace of the evangelist, like whatever you want to call it, like it's fucking, it's the Garden of Eden, it's the Aesir, the land of the fucking, it's Asgard. Like you can make the frames good if you have presence. And like a lot of Eastern traditions just tell you to be like present. If you read like Power of Now or Be Here Now, it's like literally like Be Here Now. If you read it, like it's a great fucking book. I recommend everyone read it. There's a very good vibe that when you read it, it goes into you and it's great. But basically, the whole book is just selling you on the idea that you should be present, and they just give you like, numerous scenarios of why you should be present. And by the end of the book, you're like, fuck, I think, mother, I think I should be present. And you start doing that, and you're like, wow, this actually feels really good. And then maybe some shit happens, and you kind of forget about it, and then your life kind of starts deteriorating, and you start doing all of these things in the external to try and make the internal feel good. And it doesn't really work. Well, it didn't really work for me anyway. And then until you're like, oh fuck, actually, I'm trying to solve an internal problem by doing external things, where it's like, actually, you don't need to do that much. You just gotta like fucking sit down and just like tune into yourself and feel good and just tune into like the present moment in a way. And then it makes the external better. I'm not saying like you shouldn't plan for the future, but it's like, or deal with things in the past that you might need to deal with, but it's like, in the process of planning or dealing, just be as present as you can. It's like, let's say we're just made up of actions, in our lives, whether it's like I'm making a video, or I'm planning, I'm thinking, I'm journaling, or I'm eating. It's like, just whatever it is you're doing, try and be as present as possible. And I just think that will just make everything you're doing, like, it's like a paradox. It's like the more you worry while you're doing something, the less good you do it. But it's like the more you're just there doing the thing, being present, like not worrying about other things, then it's like all of your computational power, all your RAM is just focused on the activity rather than thinking about things that's not in this moment. When you die, right, people are like, RIP, rest in peace, right? And I'm like, why can you only rest in peace when you die? Like, why can't you just rest in peace while you're alive? Like, why can't you just live in peace, be in peace? Like, why is it only upon death that you can be in peace? Like, that sucks. It's like, well, let's just all kill ourselves so we can be in peace. Like, no, let's not do that. Let's just be in peace without the death. One of the ways I've been able to tune more into present moment is it's through meditation, but a specific way I'm meditating. And it's not like, it's very simple. Basically, I pretend that I'm already dead, and it's like, this is the final moment, and it's like, okay, or like I'm about to die very, very soon. It's like, imagine you're on your deathbed, and then you're like, oh fuck, like, well, this is it, like, I had a good run, but I'm gonna die soon, which is great, because then I don't have to worry about fucking doing this or doing that, and or anything really. And it's like, well, and there's literally nothing else I can do except to sit here or lie down on my bed and wait for my death. There's nothing else I can do, there's no stress or worry about you not doing something. So you're like, well, what can I just do? I can just lie here or sit here and just chill and just feel good, just feel good in this moment without having to worry about anything. And when I kind of switch into that mentality, and I just be, it feels really good. It feels really good. And it after a while, it kind of feels like, if you're sitting on your bed or whatever, like, my body is just melting into my bed, and I'm just kind of like melting into the air. I'm turning into like this big blob, and I'm just like disintegrating into everything. If you've seen the movie Lucy with Scarlett Johansson, like, she goes through this like intense like a spiritual awakening, right? And in the end, she gets really fucking OP, right? And like when she's at the peak of her consciousness after taking all the drugs, she just melts into this like venom like blob thing, and she just kind of starts permeating everywhere into the fucking universe, right? And that's kind of the feeling you'd want ideally, or that's kind of the feeling I get when I when I do it properly. And it feels really good. It feels really good. Like, you're just one with everything, and there's no worries, and it's like there's nothing wrong right now. There's no worries. There's just nothing wrong. And it's like, well, great. Well, then in that case, let's just have a good time just being alive and breathing, and just zoning out and just, or zoning into the universe, right? And and if I can tap into that state, like, for me, that's kind of like connecting with grace, or connecting with divinity, or whatever you want to call it, connecting with the source energy. And it's like, if I can get into that state every day, then I know I'll have a good day. Or anytime I get out of that state and I start getting too worried about this or that, or and all I need to do is, well, what I try to do is to get back into that state, and then I'm like, oh, actually, hold the fuck up. Like, all of these like material worries that I'm so scared of is actually not that scary. I can deal with it in due time, but I don't need to have the anxiety and the worry attached to it while I deal with it. And it got me thinking to the point where I'm like, this state feels so good. I can understand why people would just meditate on mountains, because they're just having this fucking party inside. They don't need all these external stimulation. This state feels so good that it feels like I don't need to do anything, with my life except just to be in this state. And it's like, look, like top performance CEOs, they do like meditations and stuff to help them perform better at their job, you know, in their material job, right? We do these like internal things to perform better externally, but it's like, what if it's more like we need to take care of the external to a certain extent, you know, so that we're not like starving, homeless and stuff. But then after a certain extent, we're safe and we're good. All we need to do is just to go into the internal side, and like if we want to feel happy and content with our lives, then we just do that, you know, like instead of using the external, sorry, yeah, using the internal to affect the external, we should maybe, you know, try switching more into using the external into the internal. Because like, you know, sure, you have enough money and you feel safe, and it's like, but people are still unhappy, you know, like they might have a lot of money or enough money to do things, and they go outside and like they party and shit, and you know, have lots of like good sex, like fuck bitches, get money, like, you know, that lifestyle. Like I understand, not really, I don't really do that, but I understand, right? But then it feels like they're still chasing things. They're never happy. It's like they're always fucking empty. It's like they're trying to feed their soul somehow, right? But, you know, it's like trying to stick bread onto your stomach, you know, onto your skin and trying to get full. And it's like, it's not happening. And I feel like that is an internal problem. You know, you're trying to solve an internal problem with an external thing. And, you know, maybe if we focus more on just being present, you know, and just being content, you know, and feeling the grace of the moment that exists in every moment, then I don't know, perhaps we'll lead better lives, you know, like after like everything is said and done, you have everything sorted, you have water, you have a house, you have food, you have air and stuff like that, you know, maybe you have people in your life that you connect to, maybe you have things to do, creative outlets, ways to express yourself, right? All that, it's great, you know, the 7 neutral needs, as Bashar says, that maybe I'll link down below if you're interested. That was quite good of a video. Once you have all of that, like that's it. You can just be content. You can just die while alive and just live in peace. And that feeling, that serene, divine, like sanctuary like feeling, is a really good time that I feel like everyone should aim for, you know, at least once a week, you know, if not every day, because that will really center you to like divinity, to the source energy, to God, you know, whatever you want to call that. It will center you to divine higher self consciousness, 5D alien fucking macabre shit. Like that's what will get you there. And if you live life through that, it's going to be so much more aligned and free flowing, you know, and synchronistic and all of good adjectives than you trying way too hard to affect the external world in order to make the internal world feel better. Like there needs to be a balance between internal and external, and I feel like as a society we definitely are too much on the spectrum of the external. We need to bring it more back into the internal. So if you're watching this video and that's something perhaps you resonate with, then yeah, give that a shot and see if it makes you feel better. And if not, just keep trying other things until you figure it out. I just wanted to add, basically when you're in this state where you're just good being alive, right? It's like at a very minimal external stimulation level, and you can still just feel neutral, you know, at the very least, then anything that you have upon this is a bonus, which makes this state so fucking powerful, because then it's like you're not at the at the whims of the external to make you feel good. Like you are just the self-supplying good machine that don't need no man or thing, you know, out there. And if you can go into the world with that, then you're just like a whole, complete, powerful, good time for everybody.